On today's episode of Watch JR Go, we are back with my 1996 Infiniti J30t that I just realized has been out in the garage flashing its security light for days on end. Interesting. It's probably dead. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and in the last episode with my $1,400 Infiniti J30t with a 300ZX drivetrain under the hood, we found some major issues and we fixed them. And the major issue, of course, that we ended up finding after troubleshooting all the ignition coil stuff is somebody had just twisted one of the wires together, the yellow wire going to the #1 fuel injector. So we have repaired that, and I can hear the fuel injector running now. I use the old stethoscope. If you don't know what I'm doing when I'm holding a screwdriver into the engine bay, anything solid, 2x4 screwdriver, a real stethoscope, whatever you have. The mechanics ones actually work great. They've got a rod on the end. You can use them to, listen to every single thing on your car quickly, and in seconds, your ears should pretty much tell you what's wrong. So that's always a quick troubleshooting tip. You don't need to spend $10 or $20 on a stethoscope. Just grab your closest screwdriver and one that's got a really solid handle. It lets you listen really well. I can put this one like in my ear. It feels nice. Anyway, it's a weird thing to say. And we got that sorted out, right? So the injector is firing now. Now, like every troubleshooting video I make, people don't like the way I troubleshoot. They don't appreciate my shoot from the hip troubleshooting there. And that is simply how I will always troubleshoot. You start with the things that are most likely to fail, plugs, coils, obviously, and you work down the list from there, or it's making a sound and you start there with some assumptions, and you just always start with assumptions. You do not start with a compression test. And every time I don't do a compression test, people get upset. Now, I hate compression tests, and every mechanic I know hates compression tests too. They're a nightmare. It's fine if you're a DIYer and you're at home and I don't even have my compression tester here because I'll probably never need it, honestly. Compression tests take forever. The readings aren't likely to match up to the factory specs anyway, and the only thing that actually matters is relative compression. So when you're doing a compression test and you're going through checking all the cylinders, obviously everyone knows that rule, that you basically look for your test results to match within like 10 to 20%. 10 would be preferable for sure. And I did actually try to do a leak down on this after we checked everything else. But after you try 5 times to find TDC on the piston, and I've got my feeler screwdriver on the piston, I got the piston all the way up to TDC, put some air on it, and the engine turns over, you just get tired of messing around with that nonsense. So back to the subject at hand. Ignore that I did my due diligence. Relative compression's where it's at, and I do want to, from now on, only run relative compression tests in my life with an oscilloscope. The problem is I only have my single channel oscilloscope. That's it's a probe oscilloscope. Oh, it's that top diag one I showed you guys in my Amazon Christmas video. My 4-channel oscilloscope only works with one of my Autel scanners. It does not work with the new, much bigger and better Autel scanner. And my other one that the oscilloscope does plug directly into and work, my brother might have accidentally set my 2-post car lift on top of, and now it's toast. So that's why I don't have an oscilloscope right now to use for this, or we would have already done that test as well. So to do a relative compression test with your oscilloscope, you basically just probe the #1 ignition coil, you put an amp clamp on the battery negative cable, and then you just go crank it over, and you look at the graph, and obviously you'll see a signal every time one fires, and then you'll see 6 pulses. And if any of those pulses are different based on the current the starter's drawing while it's turning over, there's something wrong. And that's all that matters. For the most part, when you're doing what I'm doing, I don't care about actual compression. We're not going for performance here. What we're always going for is make the engine run right. For me, a relative compression test always answers all of my questions. You can also put pressure transducers on the intake and on the exhaust and get a really good picture of what the valves are doing as well. So a quick test with an oscilloscope can tell you everything about the engine. Not only that, I'm a huge fan of relative compression because it's really fast. Compression tests, obviously, most engines now, the spark plug holes are completely inaccessible. You can't get that thing in there without fighting for, you gotta get the hose snaked down into the spark plug well. It's gonna take you 10, 15 minutes to get it all set up on every cylinder. So you're an hour and a half into doing a 6-cylinder like this to do a compression test. It could take an insanely long time. Easy engine like this, okay, fine, it's 15 minutes. But it's not where I wanna start. It's not where most mechanics start. We shoot from the hip. All right, enough talking about shooting from the hip. I did some actual testing as well, and that is why we know that this sensor, which is the one I thought fed the ECU, is coolant temp for the ECU right there, the 2-wire, and the single wire does feed the gauges as I expected. Now, I stuck a wire in the end of the connector to the one wire, grounded it out on the engine's coil ground right there, and voila, the temp gauge in the cockpit worked again. It went all the way to max. So we do know that we have a bad sender for coolant temp. And then intake air temp. We don't have a good reference for that, and it's very important as well. Tells the engine how much enrichment it needs on start. We don't have a signal for that. We have the check engine light instead. It comes on instantly, even after clearing the codes. So today, we're gonna swap out some sensors, fill the tank up with 44K, take this car out for a drive finally, and I think we're basically there. We should be really close to getting it running right. The other thing I'm gonna do, tape the harness all back up because it needs to be taped up and it needs to look good. Let's head to O'Reilly's right now, pick up some parts. We are here at O'Reilly's to pick up the next couple of parts for the Infiniti, and I think they're both in stock, so I'm pretty excited about that. Coolant temperature sensor. Hey, if you guys aren't using the new O'Reilly's Overwards Digital Edition, you need to start using that now. You're carrying that old card around. I know I was too. You're trying to save some money, but you can just do this. And it's so much easier. You can earn rewards, 1 point for every dollar spent. You can track all your purchases and earn points while you're buying stuff. You get a birthday reward every year, and there's bonus point offers. Honestly, they'll just hook you up. So if you shop here a lot like I do, it will save you some money, and it's a lot easier than the old card. Yeah, thanks, dog.
Yeah, we need to get a commercial.
Yeah, y'all take care. Yep. See ya. Okay, so we got our coolant temp sensor and the air temp sensor's on the way. It'll be here in a couple seconds. I made a mistake. I looked online. I thought they were both in store. They'll be here in a few. And we're back with some parts. We've got the coolant temp sensor here. I think that one is 171271, and also the air temp 171371. Interesting. How is the part number only off by a single digit? Pretty crazy. All right, so we're gonna install those. And of course, I bought a big old bottle of 44K from BG. We're gonna dump that in the tank. It's a little under half, which will leave that extremely concentrated and hopefully clean out that injector and make it run even better. Here's our new coolant temp sensor. It looks like you just need a 13 deep to install it and to deinstall the old one, obviously. So you'll want an extension. Ooh, the old one's it's a different size. Let me grab a 12. All right, the old one's a 12, and we'll get an extension on there. Hey, we're not even losing any coolant. How cool is that? Make sure these are the same size. It looks like they are. Roughly. That ought to work. A little pipe thread sealant as well, just like they did. We should be good to go. Well, this is the fastest fix ever as long as it works. So we got a little pipe thread sealant on the new one. And I'll get it started. Sorry, I know it's hard to see, but I think we've got it started now. And it's tightened down. Let's go ahead and hook it up. And hopefully, when we start it this time, we've got coolant temp now. So, on to our ambient air temp sensor. This should just slide out of the rubber grommet, but I have to crawl under the car and do this blind. So it's just a little connector, and you can either get it on a lift or jack up the front end and remove all the underbody panels, or there's a hole about this big. You can pull the tray down and slide your arm up in and get this swapped out. And obviously we're going with that route, so hopefully it doesn't take me too much time here. I've got my hands on this thing and it is incredibly hard to get out of there. That rubber grommet is not letting go. So I'm just gonna keep pulling, and eventually we'll get it popped out and we'll have this ambient air temp done. I cannot believe it's not up in the plenum or something where it belongs. Like, you know, the air is gonna be much warmer by the time it goes through all that ducting in the engine bay. So why wouldn't you figure out the temperature there? I gotta take this back out. The ambient air temp sensor is temporarily hooked up. It was easy enough to get to the connector, so I plugged in the new sensor, and we're gonna find out whether that's the actual issue or if there's more wiring issues that I need to start chasing down. So that harness comes up here, and also a bunch more of it comes up into the front support bar here and runs back there to the ECU. So we're gonna have to keep digging into that if we come up with a code right now. So the check engine light obviously still on, haven't cleared it yet. And any moment now, it's already detected the protocol to talk to the car, so we should have a code within a couple of seconds. Okay, here's what we have. Mass airflow Sensor A, that was unplugged at one point, so that should not be a code anymore. And then the knock sensor, even though it doesn't show the actual knock on cylinder 1 anymore, and intake air temp. So we're gonna go ahead and erase those. And I'm gonna start it, and let's see what we have after the fact here. Hopefully it's all cleared up, and all we have to do is dump in our 44K and take it for a drive. A nice long drive, that is. At least the heat works. Middle of this crazy winter storm, drive this wherever you want. You got heat. Taking a long time. Intake air temp sensor. Still. But how? It's plugged in. I must have a broken wire in that harness as well. A lot of broken wires on this car, and I don't understand how. I did find the wires to that harness, and this does have me wondering already. It's this wire right here, underneath the driver's side headlight, or kind of behind it. This wire, you can hear it moving around down there. That is the intake air temp, and it definitely could have like rubbed on the metal here until it was destroyed. So I'm gonna pull that all the way up, and I'm probably gonna have to unwrap that one as well to start figuring out exactly where it's broken. Not another repaired wiring harness. Look at this. Here's the lower turn signal, it looks like. For some reason, those wires are like shorted together. And this looks like it's been repaired, and poorly. I really don't understand what's going on with this car. How on earth did all of this happen? So there's a chance that's factory, but this short here with this like 12 volts running straight across into the ground side might have been messing this up if these share a common ground. So now that I've untwisted that and obviously pulled all the wiring out, let's see if we've got an intake air temp sensor. All right, trouble codes are not detected. We have resolved every code on this car, and I think a drive will finish clearing up everything else. Now, the one thing I do want to do is get this back into place here. I know this housing is trash. It was all rotten when I pulled it off of here. Multiple adapters and all this crazy stuff. I'll insulate those. But first, let's go start this up real quick and make sure we have no more codes for real. I think we've got intake air temp. That means we're home free. First start with the engine knowing what the temp is, and I think it's gonna start even better. Or worse, it's whatever. No more check engine light on the dash. We still have the knock sensor circuit, obviously. We gotta go drive that, get this all cleared up. But we don't have a check engine light anymore. So I say we have one. And like I said, I'm gonna run that 44K way over the recommended concentration by not putting any more gas in the tank. So we're good to go for now. I can unhook this thing, and soon we'll get this outside. Well, a quick easy fix with a trip to O'Reilly's and figuring out some random wiring things that I'll just, a little bit of electrical tape, we'll be good to go. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. I'm up here with Jared at Farhaw's Used Cars, and that is, of course, who I bought my F-250 from. So he was like, you know anyone that needs a Ram charger? And I was like, I love the Ram charger. And he opens up the hood, and look at what we have here. This is a 5.3 swap in a Ram charger that's lowered. It looks so cool. Battery's dead, of course, but it's got shaved door handles, door poppers. It has a system. If you're interested in a really good deal on a Ram charger, I bet he'd make you a deal. Oh, look at that. Door opens on the remote. You could probably buy this for less than you can get a complete swap. The battery's very dead. E-fans, just the radiator and the fans. A crazy amount of money. Not today. Oh, nope, you got bad ground. Yeah, this isn't a great ground. Try again. Oh. There you go. An incredibly well running 5.3. 4L60, automatic. Chrysler, 300 seats. Hey, does this door open on the remote?
Do what?
Does this door open on the remote? Oh, the remote's in the car. Oh, so cool. So it's just ready to have some door panels built and have yourself a car. There's the door buttons, head unit, seats. Really cool. Anyway, hit them up. Farha Used Cars here in Wichita. I'll throw a link in the description.